Good Erev Shabbos. Thank you to Rabbi Yehoshua Freeman and to Yeshivat Casion for the opportunity to share this Dvar Torah. In Parashat Toldot, we read about Rivka's plan, Rivka Imenu's plan for Yaakov Avinu to step into his brother Esav's clothing to receive the bracha that Yitzhak Avinu had intended to give to Esav, based on Rivka's nevuah from the beginning of the parsha of Rav Yavod Sair. Yaakov is worried about following this plan. He's worried that he's going to receive a klala and not a bracha. Rivka reassures him and says, Alai kilascha b'ni. Chizkuni says, at least in the first explanation, that the meaning of Alai kilascha b'ni is Rivka saying exactly what we just mentioned, that with the nevuah that she had received in the beginning of the parsha, it's clear to her that this is the right thing to do, and Yaakov should follow it. And Rivka is saying to Yaakov, this is on me. I'm confident that we're doing the right thing here. This is on me. I'll take whatever responsibility. Still, in understanding what must have been going through Yaakov's mind at that moment, this is still a complicated conversation and a complicated ask of Yaakov. We know halachically, kibud avayim is not easy to observe when a mother wants one thing and a father wants another, or when a parent asks a child to do something that is somewhat, may seem somewhat questionable. Yaakov may have been confused because of things like that. Certainly, Rivka and Yitzhak and Yaakov may have, could have been able to sit down and talk through, who should receive the bracha, and maybe that would have ended, maybe that would have made this work a little bit better. Of course, that's not how things may have been able to work back then, but that extra communication probably would have helped things, and I think that extra communication is exactly the balance that we're supposed to strike when trying to understand how to balance both the requirement of an observer of something questionable to be dan l'kaf zchus, and the requirement of someone who's about to do something questionable of avoiding maris ayin. This is, of course, a well-known kind of dual concept. The observer has to be dan l'kaf zchus. The actor needs to try and avoid maris ayin. Extra communication, of course, would avoid all of this. My students were learning, my high school students were learning about Shemitah through a distance learning session with a parent of many Bogrim, Rabbi Joel Cohen. Rabbi Joel Cohen showed my students how in Israel nowadays, keeping the halachos of Shemitah as a consumer is made a little bit more accessible, perhaps a little more easy, by the fact that there are systematic levels of communication that that produce that finds its way into supermarkets, into groceries, is labeled with the particular method that's being used to make sure that halachos of Shemitah are being observed k'halacha. Whether it's Yivol Nachri, Yivol Shishi, Otzar Beitzim, whatever the method may be, it's often labeled either in the store, on the packaging of the product, or both. That systematic communication and a systematic method of making sure that everyone is, can know where a certain product or where a certain group of people, a certain company stands on how they're keeping Shemitah is a wonderful thing. It really is a special thing that is done. It reminded me of the Gemara in Sanhedrin, one of the foundational Gemaras of being dan l'kaf zchus, where Reish Lakish and the Chachamim are walking. They see someone who seems to be working during Shemitah, and Reish Lakish is critical. The Chachamim say, okay, perhaps this person is using one of the methods for observing Shemitah properly. This connection between the confusing moment that Yaakov may have felt, the extra communication that might have helped, the fact that extra communication is put in place when it comes to Shmir Shemitah, and I think could be a valuable lesson for all of us in how we keep halacha and how we bring Shmir halacha into our not just our own personal lives, but into the lives of those around us. I think is a valuable thing to take away. Thank you and have a good Shabbos.